Carlson merely wants to thank his listeners for the good ratings. He's a very grateful guy.
Be grateful to me. Give me some money.
Well, these things take time.
Spoken like a true crypto-fascist puppet of the managerial elite.
Remember when TV gave us a cynical DJ spinning records in a tiny booth while absolute chaos exploded in the hallways? That was WKRP in Cincinnati, the wonderfully off-kilter sitcom about a struggling AM station trying to crank up the volume and stay afloat. You had Gary Sandy as program director Andy Travis trying to drag the place into the modern era, Gordon Jump as big guy Arthur Carlson bumbling his way through promotions, Howard Hesseman's gloriously fried Dr. Johnny Fever, and Tim Reid smooth as midnight Venus flytrap holding down the booth. And the rest of the crew that made the station feel real. Loni Anderson's unflappable Jennifer Marlowe at the front desk, Jan Smithers' smart, underrated Bailey Quarters, quietly keeping things on track, Richard Sanders as eternally bandaged newsman Les Nessman, and Frank Bonner in enough plaid to blind a nation as sales rep Herb Tarlek. WKRP launched on CBS in 1978 and stuck around for 4 seasons and 90 episodes, just enough time to give us the turkey drop, a bomb scare, and one of the best theme songs of the era. Today, we're heading back to the station for 15 weird facts you didn't know about WKRP in Cincinnati. Now, before we dive in, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into the shows and movies that you grew up on. Now, let's get into the countdown with number 15. The intro and outro themes told you everything about WKRP.
Baby, if you've ever wondered.
Before Johnny Fever cranked a record, before Venus Flytrap dimmed the lights, and before Herb Tarlek blinded you with plaid, WKRP hit you with 2 of the most unexpectedly perfect theme songs in sitcom history. First up, that soft rock masterpiece of an opening theme.
I'm living on the air in Cincinnati.
Yeah, the one that sounds like it should be playing on a yacht rock station at 2 a.m. while a lonely DJ contemplates his life choices.
Cincinnati, WKRP.
It was written by Tom Wells with lyrics by show creator Hugh Wilson and sung by Atlanta musician Steve Carlisle, not Richard Sanders. That rumor spread because Carlisle's voice sorta sounded like Les Nessman if Les Nessman could actually sing on key. The lyrics tell the whole backstory of Andy Travis before he even appears on screen. He's tired of bouncing from town to town, up and down your dial, and Cincinnati is his last-ditch attempt to settle down and turn a struggling station into something worth listening to.
Maybe you and me were never meant to be.
The theme hit so hard with fans that MCA Records released a full-length version in 1981, and it actually charted. Number 65 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 29 on Adult Contemporary. That's rare air for a sitcom theme song.
I'm at WKRP in Cincinnati.
But the show balanced that sincerity with one of the best closing credit jokes in TV history. Instead of a heartfelt reprise, the end credits went full hard rock chaos thanks to Atlanta musician Jim Ellis. He wrote the music but didn't bother writing actual lyrics. So in the demo, he just mumbled whatever sounds came to mind. It was total rock and roll word salad. Hugh Wilson heard it, laughed, and said, "Yeah, that's the one, don't fix anything." And since network announcers always talked over the end credits anyway, drowning out whatever he sang, Ellis's nonsense vocals were the perfect punchline. It was a parody of every 70s rock song where you just made up words as you sang along. Together, the 2 themes define WKRP's entire vibe. Hard up front, mischief in the back. It's like a musical mullet, just somehow classy. Number 14, CBS moved WKRP so many times you needed a compass to find it. If you ever felt like WKRP in Cincinnati was on a different night every time you tried to watch it, that's because it basically was. WKRP didn't just get moved around the CBS schedule, it got shuffled, tossed, and launched into orbit by network executives who somehow didn't realize they had a hit on their hands. Over 4 seasons, CBS dropped WKRP into 12 different time slots. 12! That's not a schedule, that's a scavenger hunt. It all started in 1978 when CBS premiered the show on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Unfortunately, that put it against Little House on the Prairie and Welcome Back, Kotter, which is basically like challenging Michael Jordan to a pickup game your first day on the court. After just 8 episodes, WKRP got benched. But then something weird happened. Critics loved it, viewers loved it, and real radio DJs wrote fan letters saying, yeah, this is exactly how our insane workplaces operate. So CBS brought the show back and finally gave it the golden ticket, the post-MASH time slot. And guess what? WKRP thrived. Season 2 finished at number 22 in the Nielsen ratings, a rock-solid hit. Get it? So, naturally, CBS executives immediately yanked it out of that slot. Why? Well, because they wanted that prime spot to launch other shows, like House Calls. How did House Calls turn out, you ask? Exactly. From there, WKRP became a nomadic sitcom. Mondays, Saturdays, Wednesdays, early, late, back-to-back with shows it had nothing in common with. The result was that ratings eroded, not because the audience didn't exist, but because nobody could find the show week to week. Remember, this was before DVRs, before streaming, and before your VCR could record more than one thing without screaming in binary. But here comes the most WKRP twist ever. CBS canceled the show in 1982, and then only after canceling it, they finally left the remaining episodes in a consistent summertime slot. Thanks for nothing, CBS. Number 13, the call letters were a secret joke. WKRP might be one of the most memorable call signs in TV history. It's catchy, musical, and instantly recognizable. But behind the scenes, it was a dad joke disguised as a radio station. Creator Hugh Wilson admitted years later that WKRP was an inside pun for CRAP. Crap. Yeah, the whole time. The struggling low-rated station at the center of the show was literally named Crap. Not that CBS would have approved that memo anyway. This was never mentioned on air, never winked at, and never slipped into dialogue. It was purely a writer's room secret, the kind of thing you only tell people after the check's clear and the network can't yell at you anymore. When Wilson was developing the show, he needed an unused call sign that started with a W. Cincinnati sits east of the Mississippi, so that part was non-negotiable. But all his first choices were taken. So when he saw WKRP was available, he grabbed it like it was the last clean record sleeve in the studio. And that inspiration didn't stop with the name. WKRP was loosely based on Wilson's real experiences at Atlanta's WQXI, where apparently the real-life chaos wasn't much calmer than the fictional version. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's actual AM station, WKRC, leaned into the similarity. They even tweaked their own jingle to WKRC in Cincinnati. Free publicity? Absolutely. Confused listeners? Probably. Was it worth it? Definitely. And the WKRP call letters outlived the show. A low-power TV station in Cincinnati rebranded itself as WKRP, and later an FM station in Raleigh snagged the call letters too. So, somehow, the fictional station became a real broadcast identity. Hugh Wilson's prank went legit. Not bad for a joke that was never supposed to get out. Number 12, the real rock music made WKRP a classic and a legal disaster. One of the reasons WKRP felt real, like an actual functioning radio station and not just a sitcom pretending to be one, was the music. Hugh Wilson insisted the show use real tracks by the Rolling Stones, Blondie, Ted Nugent, basically the entire rock playlist of anyone's cool older cousin.
I said I think you should, that's all.
No fake jingles, no off-brand, this is definitely not Fleetwood Mac sound-alikes, real music or bust. To pull it off, the producers exploited a very convenient late 70s loophole. Music licensing fees were way cheaper for programs shot on videotape. Variety shows used tape, sitcoms used film, but WKRP shot like a variety show on purpose so they could afford the real songs. Genius at the time, but a migraine later on. Because when the show ended in 1982 and headed into syndication, those bargain bin licenses eventually expired, and Fox did not want to spend 21st century money on 1970s rock. That's when the nightmares began. Suddenly, all those scenes that originally had the Who blasting in the background were replaced with generic, cheap production music that sounded like the stuff you'd hear while waiting on hold with your dentist. Worse even more, the dialogue on videotape was glued to the music track, so when the music rights vanished, so did the dialogue. Syndicated episodes ended up with weirdly dubbed lines from voice impersonators, awkward jump cuts, and moments where characters' lips moved while absolutely nothing came out, like WKRP had suddenly become a badly translated kung fu movie. Hugh Wilson hated it. He once said he never watched those versions because they were ruined, and he wasn't wrong. The whole vibe evaporated. Finally, in the 2010s, Shout Factory showed up with lawyers, checkbooks, and apparently infinite patience. They restored about 85% of the original tracks for the 2014 Complete Series DVD set. A few songs still couldn't be cleared, because some artists apparently charge more than a luxury car these days, but for most fans, this was the closest WKRP had gotten to sounding like itself since the early 80s. So yeah, real music made WKRP authentic. It also made it nearly impossible to watch for decades, but honestly, totally worth it. Number 11, Cincinnati was chosen because it sounded good. WKRP in Cincinnati has one of the most satisfying titles in sitcom history. It just flows. Say it out loud with me. WKRP in Cincinnati. It rolls right off the tongue, like it was designed by a marketing team with perfect pitch. Except it wasn't. Hugh Wilson picked Cincinnati for one incredibly complex, deeply researched reason. He liked how it sounded. That's it. Wilson, who was a Florida native, had never even been to Cincinnati before he created the show. He was basing the entire series on his time at Atlanta's WQXI, but WKRP in Atlanta didn't sing.
I was quite surprised when Mr. Jimmy Lee Watson, president of these plowing patriots, called and told me,
all purveyors of obscenity will be exposed for what they really are. See to that.
He wanted a well-known American city, something recognizable but not overused like New York or LA. Cincinnati was the Goldilocks choice. Midwestern, distinctive, and most importantly, just fun to say. But once Cincinnati was locked in for purely phonetic reasons, the production team decided to actually earn it. They hired a local cinematographer to shoot the Tyler Davidson Fountain, the skyline, and other landmarks for the opening credits. Set dressers brought in real Cincinnati props, La Rosa's pizza boxes, local beer bottles, little touches that made the show feel grounded in the Queen City, even though the cast was really shooting in Los Angeles. And then there's the coincidence no one planned. Two of the show's biggest stars, Gary Sandy and Gordon Jump, were both from Dayton, Ohio, which is just up the road. WKRP picked Cincinnati for the sound and accidentally ended up with half its cast from the neighborhood. So yeah, the city was chosen on a whim, but between the local flavor and the accidental Ohio casting, Cincinnati earned its spot in the title. Number 10. The real stories behind WKRP's characters. One of the reasons WKRP felt so authentic, like you could practically smell the coffee burning in the break room, is because most of its characters were pulled straight from creator Hugh Wilson's life and his time at Atlanta Top 40 station WQXI. But not all of them were. Some were reinventions and some were composites. Let's start with the most famous case of ripped from real life. Dr. Johnny Fever, Howard Hesseman's fried, cynical, barely conscious morning DJ, was inspired by Atlanta legend Skinny Bobby Harper, whose chaotic energy was famous across the South. Hesseman himself had been a real DJ, Don Sturdy in San Francisco, and when producers tried to cast him as Herb Tarlek, he flat out refused. He knew he was Johnny Fever, and once he started improvising his on-air riffs, nobody disagreed.
WKRP, with your generous help and support, has now climbed to 10th place in the Cincinnati market. If I sound emotional about this, it's because I can still hear my father saying, "Son, no matter what you decide to do in this life, always try to come in 10th.
Herb Tarlek, the plaid-clad sales tornado, was practically a carbon copy of WQXI salesman Clark Brown, whose wardrobe was so loud the FCC probably should have regulated it. Les Nessman, the tightly wound newsman, got his signature running gag entirely by accident. Actor Richard Sanders showed up for the pilot with a real injury and a bandage. Production didn't have time to fix the script, so they kept it.
How are you, Les?
humbled and honored, Jennifer, and yet grateful to my great many regular listeners.
And Sanders pitched making Les permanently, mysteriously bandaged. The explanation? His large, ill-tempered dog, every time. Arthur Carlson, the big guy, was a split decision. His real-life inspiration, WQXI General Manager Jerry Bloom, was forceful and commanding. Those traits went to Mrs. Carlson. Arthur got the nickname and the track record of spectacularly ill-fated promotions. Andy Travis got his name from Wilson's cousin, but his job description came from real-life radio programmer Michael Harrington, a guy who actually knew how to drag a station into the modern era. Bailey Quarters was modeled after Wilson's own wife. Quiet, deeply observant, soft-spoken, and razor-sharp when she finally chimed in. The writers built her as the opposite of a TV stereotype, a shy woman who was competent, professional, and invaluable. So yeah, WKRP's characters felt real because most of them were, and the ones who weren't, they were built with enough character to fool you. That's why the ensemble still holds up decades later. Number 9, the show's sets used real bumper stickers sent by DJs. One of the coolest things about WKRP is that the station looked real. It was messy, chaotic, and lived in. Like a place where a DJ could lose a sandwich behind a reel-to-reel machine and find it 3 weeks later.
Yeah, you got me. Talk to me. Yeah, this is me. Buffy. The Laurel Canyon Buffy? No kidding around, Buffy? Where are you? No kidding!
That authenticity didn't come from a fancy art department. It came from actual radio stations across America and Canada. The show's creators put out a call in industry trade magazines like Billboard and Radio and Records asking stations to send in their bumper stickers and promotional swag. The radio community didn't just respond, they buried the production office. Boxes of stickers, decals, promo items, anything a station could slap its call letters on came pouring in from across North America. The set designers took one look at the growing pile and said, yep, we're using all of this. They plastered the real-life stickers over every wall, bulletin board, cabinet, and flat surface in the broadcast booth and bullpen. The result, an instantly recognizable radio station aesthetic. It was loud, cluttered, a little haphazard, and absolutely authentic. For people in the industry, watching WKRP became a game of spot your local station. Fans recognized call letters like WLS, WBAB, KZEW, and WEBN tucked into the background of episodes. It was a nationwide Easter egg hunt, a wink to everyone who'd ever lived behind a microphone. Those stickers turned the WKRP studio into one of the most believable environments on TV. The kind of place that felt so real you half expected a traffic reporter to burst in yelling about congestion on I-75. It wasn't Hollywood magic, it was radio people taking care of their own, one bumper sticker at a time. Number 8, Jennifer Marlowe was supposed to appear once, until Loni Anderson changed everything. Jennifer Marlowe feels like one of the anchors of WKRP. Calm, poised, completely unflappable while chaos explodes around her.
Mr. Carlson says you can go home now or to the bathroom, whichever you'd like.
But here's the thing, she was never supposed to stick around. In the earliest drafts, Jennifer was the receptionist. One episode, no background story, no future, basically just set dressing with dialogue.
I knew it, Jennifer. I knew it. Herb is ill.
Les, Lucille always sounds a little strange. Now don't go off half-cocked.
A newsman is always fully cocked.
That plan lasted about 5 minutes into filming. Loni Anderson walked onto the set and immediately made everyone realize they'd underestimated what this character could be. She played Jennifer with razor-sharp timing, effortless confidence, and an intelligence that wasn't anywhere in the original script.
That helps to know the secretary.
Hello, Harry. This is Jennifer. Yes, really. Harry, pull yourself together and listen.
Hugh Wilson took one look and basically said, okay, tear up the plan. Before the pilot even wrapped, Anderson was upgraded from one episode guest to full series regular. And here's where it gets interesting. Jennifer Marlowe could have easily been the dumb blonde receptionist, a tired TV trope that was already old by 1978. Instead, the writers flipped it completely. Jennifer wasn't the punchline, she was the only person at WKRP who had everything figured out. She didn't yell, she didn't panic, she didn't need slapstick or big reactions to get laughs. No matter what was happening, Herb's desperate sales pitches, Les's meltdowns, Mr. Carlson's latest Doom promotion, Jennifer just handled it, usually with a single line that cut straight to the point. She was the most competent person at the station and everyone knew it, including her. That quiet confidence connected with audiences immediately. Within a season, Loni Anderson had gone from Who's the Receptionist to one of the show's biggest stars. Not bad for a character who was supposed to disappear after the pilot. Alright, we're going to take a quick pause here because what's the first WKRP moment that pops into your head? Tell us in the comments section below, and while you're down there, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the shows that ruled your TV back in the day. Now let's get back into the countdown with number 7. WKRP's Who concert episode was so accurate it became required viewing. WKRP was a comedy, but it knew when to stop being one. The most powerful example is the episode inspired by the real 1979 Who concert tragedy in Cincinnati, where 11 fans were killed in a stampede outside Riverfront Coliseum.
I don't know, man. I just can't believe it. I mean, 11 kids lose their lives. For what?
Well, what do you expect of these things?
What the hell does that mean, man? You ever been to a concert?
No, sir. But you're gonna get this when you got a lot of teenagers crowded together and worked up by a lot of loud rock music.
WKRP became the only TV show at the time willing to dramatize the event. The episode aired in 1980 while the city was still reeling, and it didn't soften the edges. The station staff confronted grief, guilt, and the failures in communication that contributed to the disaster. Limited laugh track, no easy resolution. Real-life radio programmers called it one of the most accurate depictions of how stations handle breaking tragedy. Years later, it became required viewing in schools and media programs, used to teach crowd control, journalism ethics, and emergency broadcasting. Cincinnati officials even consulted the episode during later safety reforms, a rare moment when a sitcom contributed to real-world policy. WKRP proved it could deliver heart and humor, but when it needed to speak for a city still grieving, it did that too. Number 6, WKRP earned respect, nominations, and almost no wins. WKRP in Cincinnati had a weird relationship with award season. Critics loved it, people in the radio industry swore by it, and viewers who managed to find it in the schedule chaos treated it like a best-kept secret. But when the envelopes opened on Emmy night, the show was usually clapping politely for someone else. Across its 4-season run, WKRP earned 10 Primetime Emmy nominations, an impressive haul for a show the network never quite figured out how to support. 3 of those nominations were for Outstanding Comedy Series back to back in 1980, 81, and 82. A lot of sitcoms dream of one Best Comedy nod. WKRP got 3 and still went home empty-handed each time. Loni Anderson and Howard Hesseman each picked up 2 Supporting Actor nominations too, recognition for characters that were quickly becoming pop culture staples.
What do you want now?
A drink.
What?
Brandy, anything,
Brandy, anything.
This is all Chad's fault.
But again, nominations, not wins. So what did WKRP actually win? 1 Emmy in 1982 for Outstanding Videotape Editing. That's right, after 4 seasons of critical praise, memorable characters, and genre-defining episodes, WKRP's lone Emmy went to the guy who cut the tape together. Editor Andy Ackerman took home the statue for the episode Fire, making him the show's only Emmy winner during its original run. Now, no shade to Andy Ackerman, he did great work, but you have to admit it's a very WKRP way to finally win. The better recognition came from somewhere else entirely. Hugh Wilson earned 2 Humanitas Prizes, a major honor for TV writing that emphasizes human dignity and social relevance. Those wins said what the Emmy tally never quite captured. WKRP wasn't just funny, it had heart, empathy, and something real to say. In the end, WKRP didn't rack up the hardware, but it earned something that aged better than any trophy. Respect from its peers and a reputation that only got stronger once the reruns started rolling. Number 5, Venus Flytrap became one of the most groundbreaking characters on TV. Venus Flytrap didn't sound like anyone else on WKRP, and that was entirely the point. While Johnny Fever ran mornings with burnt-out cynicism and a playlist that could rattle the walls, Venus showed up for the night shift like a completely different station had taken over the booth. Tim Reid built the character around the Quiet Storm format, a smooth blend of mellow R&B and jazz that was exploding on black radio in the late 70s. If you tuned in after dark, you knew the vibe.
This is Venus, my children. Here we sit, and let the sounds of music creep in our ears. Soft stillness in the night become the touches of sweet harmony.
Soft grooves, low lights, and a DJ voice that felt like a warm breeze drifting through your speakers. Venus owned that energy. But underneath that silky on-air persona were layers. His real name was Gordon Sims, Vietnam vet and former high school science teacher from New Orleans who'd gotten tangled up in some trouble involving a woman and a jewelry heist. He wasn't running from the law so much as rebuilding his life under a new identity. The show doled out his backstory slowly, treating Venus like a real person with a past instead of just a cool voice behind a microphone.
You taught chemistry full-time. You worked at a radio station part-time. You love the classics. You've never been married. Your parents divorced when you were young. You were raised by your grandmother. And you play the accordion.
And Tim Reid wasn't just playing Venus, he was building him from the ground up. Reid pushed hard for the character to have intelligence, cultural awareness, and actual depth. In an era when black actors were often handed stereotypes and told to make it work, Reid refused to settle. He brought pieces of himself into the role. His interest in Taoism, meditation, and a thoughtful, introspective worldview that made Venus feel genuinely different from anything else on TV. His influence went beyond the writing. Venus and Johnny Fever were the only characters who actors actually helped select the music played on the air. That's why Venus's segments had an authentic Quiet Storm feel, because Reid made sure they did. Decades later, fans and retro radio hobbyists compiled entire 3-hour Venus flytrap shows built around his mellow DJ breaks and the kind of tracks he would have spun at WKRP. The character's influence outlasted the show itself, and Venus kept evolving. In the new WKRP in Cincinnati, he stepped into station management under his real name, Gordon Sims, a natural evolution for someone who always understood people just as well as he understood music. Venus Flytrap wasn't just a cool DJ, he was proof that a sitcom could do something meaningful without making a big speech about it. Number 4. WKRP predicted the future of corporate radio. WKRP in Cincinnati was written as a satire of late 70s radio, a comedy built from Hugh Wilson's real experiences in the industry. But here's the thing, the show aged weird. What felt like exaggeration in 1978 started looking like prophecy by the mid-90s. WKRP didn't just capture the radio world of its day, it accidentally predicted the corporate takeover that gutted the industry a decade later.
And a good morning to you. It's 10:06. You've got your husband off to work, your kids off to school, so it's just you and me. Me, I'm Rex.
The first clue was Mama Carlson, a distant corporate overlord who treated the station like a line item on a spreadsheet. She didn't care about the music, the DJs, or the listeners, just budgets and ratings. At the time, it felt like a comedic exaggeration. Give it a decade and it was just radio. After the Telecommunications Act of 1996 blew the doors off ownership limits, a few giant companies swallowed up thousands of independent stations. Local owners disappeared, and suddenly Mama Carlson wasn't a joke anymore, she was the business model. Andy Travis spent most of the series fighting to modernize WKRP's sound while battling outdated rules and corporate caution. That push-pull between creative vision and budget panic defined the show. Today, that fight barely exists. DJ autonomy got squeezed out years ago. National playlists, syndicated hosts, voice tracking that lets one person host shows in 5 cities without ever being in any of them. The personality-driven radio WKRP celebrated is now a relic. Even the show's big format flip felt ahead of its time. WKRP switching from easy listening to rock was played as a chaotic upheaval. Staff were blindsided and everybody was scrambling. By the 90s, format flips became routine. Stations changed identity overnight to chase demographics. Major institutions like WPLJ in New York vanished in a single day. WKRP treated a format change like a big deal. The modern industry treats it like a Tuesday. The show was funny in 1978, but by the 90s, it looked like a documentary. Number 3, the phone cops freakout. Johnny Fever's most unhinged moment happened during a bomb scare. One of WKRP's most unforgettable moments came from the 2-part episode An Explosive Affair. After the station received a bomb threat, Andy reassured Johnny and Venus that these things were usually routine, nothing to worry about, and sent them to WKRP's remote transmitter to keep the broadcast going while the police checked the main building. So at first, the mood out there was surprisingly calm. They were alone but not rattled, just doing their jobs and keeping the signal alive. Then, Johnny tried to call his bookie to place a long shot bet, and the bookie put him on hold. Before he could get back through, Johnny heard the race results on the radio. His horse won. He missed the payout, and that's when Johnny lost it.
That's okay.
He grabbed a toolbox and obliterated the phone, smashing it to pieces like it owed him money. Seconds later, police sirens raced toward the transmitter site, and that's when the panic hit.
I know what it is.
What?
It's the phone company. They know what I did here today.
They're coming to get me, man.
Paranoia.
Listen, wake up, sucker. This is the phone company we're talking about. I mean, they see everything. They know everything. They got their own covert police force.
This was the Bell system era, when phones were rented from Ma Bell and people half believed she had her own enforcement squad. Smashing one felt like a crime. Johnny thought the phone cops were coming to arrest him. By the time Johnny got back to the station, the panic had snowballed.
Listen, Johnny, listen to me. What happened down there, man?
Oh, it's terrible. First there were the sirens, and then the explosion. And by then I was about a quarter of a mile away, but I could see the place was crawling with phone cops.
Here's the kicker. The bomber had hidden the explosive inside that same toolbox Johnny had used as a wrecking ball. The bomb exploded and destroyed the transmitter he and Venus had just been in. Johnny thought he was about to be arrested for destroying a telephone while unknowingly sitting inches from a live bomb. Number 2, WKRP got a revival with most of the cast returning. WKRP in Cincinnati had such a devoted fan base that more than a decade after it left the air, someone decided to flip the lights back on. In 1991, the new WKRP in Cincinnati premiered in first-run syndication, and unlike most revivals, where new cast same name is the standard play, this one actually brought the original team back.
Now, buddy, I really want those walls to be soundproof. Do you think we ought to use cinder block?
I don't think the floor could take it, Mr. Nessman.
It wasn't a reboot, it was a genuine continuation, with familiar faces walking back into the studio like they'd only been gone a long weekend. The core trio held down the fort. Gordon Jump returned as Arthur Carlson, still steering the station with his signature mix of good intentions and total confusion. Frank Bonner stepped right back into Herb Tarleck's plaid polyester chaos, and Richard Sanders brought Les Nessman's neurotic professionalism into the new decade, bandages and all. But they weren't the only ones who came back. Howard Hesseman made multiple appearances as Dr. Johnny Fever, still allergic to authority, still the bridge between the old WKRP and whatever this new version was trying to be. Loni Anderson stopped by twice as Jennifer Marlowe, now a media executive but carrying the same quiet control she always had. Tim Reid returned as Venus Flytrap, except now he was Gordon Sims, his real name, reflecting the character's rise into broadcasting leadership. And Carol Bruce showed up as Mama Carlson, just in case anyone forgot who actually ran the place. The only major original cast members who didn't return were Gary Sandy and Jan Smithers. Their absence was felt, but it didn't erase what they'd meant to the station's history. So with all that nostalgic firepower, did the revival work? Kinda?
This is Les Nessman. Topping the news at this hour, Steve the Savage DeMarco has been dismissed as program director and DJ of WKRP for saying on the radio something you can't say on the radio.
The new WKRP never found the chemistry that made the original special. The returning cast was solid, but the new characters didn't quite click with them. The writing was fine, just not as sharp. Syndication budgets kept things modest, and despite decent ratings, investor support dried up after 2 seasons. It wasn't a disaster, it just wasn't WKRP. But here's what did matter. The cast showed up. Was it purely for love of the original show? Probably not. A steady paycheck never really hurts, but the fact that so many of them came back when they could have easily passed says something about what WKRP meant to the people who made it. The new WKRP in Cincinnati may not be a classic, but it proved that this little fictional radio station had real staying power. Enough to bring the team back together, turn on the lights, and flip the sign in the window back to on air. Number 1, as God is my witness, this episode made WKRP famous. Now, let's finish things off with the moment that put WKRP on the map. A promotion so spectacularly bad, it became the single most iconic Thanksgiving disaster in television history.
This is Les Nessman, your man on the scene here at the Pinedale Shopping Center where the excitement is mounting. We're here to witness the big WKRP Turkey Thanksgiving giveaway.
Mr. Carlson felt left out of the station's successful new rock format and decided to organize his own Thanksgiving promotion. His grand idea? Drop 40 live turkeys from a helicopter over the Pinedale shopping mall. He assumed the birds would simply glide down to shoppers below, who could collect them for Thanksgiving dinner. He enlisted sales manager Herb Tarleck and Les Nessman to execute the plan, keeping it secret from everyone else. The promotion went disastrously wrong because domesticated turkeys are flightless. They didn't glide, they plummeted. Les Nessman provided a frantic live radio report.
Oh my God, they're turkeys! Oh, they're crashing to the earth right in front of our eyes! Oh my goodness! Oh, the humanity!
The episode was loosely based on a real 1960s radio promotion in Dallas where a station manager dropped turkeys from a pickup truck in a parking lot. Similar mess, less altitude. Turkeys Away became legendary for one reason. Mr. Carlson genuinely believed turkeys could fly.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
That combination of confidence and complete ignorance created one of the greatest Thanksgiving episodes ever made, and a punchline that's still quoted decades later. And there you have it, 15 weird and wonderful facts about WKRP in Cincinnati that prove this little station was doing way more than just filling a time slot. Which facts surprised you the most? Which ones did we miss? Let us know in the comments section below. Hit like if this stirred up some late 70s, early 80s TV memories, and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite retro TV shows. Until next time, this is Remember When.